For the beauty of the earth we thank Thee. A drive through the Bear River Narrows, northeast of Preston, Idaho, always delivers great scenery. However, with good timing and some luck, the scenery steps up a notch from great to spectacular. Such was that drive on October 9, 2013. The fall colors along the Bear River were brilliant, perhaps even dazzling. With all that eye-popping grandeur, I began to wonder, where did the Bear River get its name? Where does the Bear River come from? How long is it? When did it spring to life? Well, here's what I know about the Bear. A geography book says the river is 491 miles long. It has its beginnings in Utah, flows through southwestern Wyoming, southeastern Idaho, and northern Utah. It is the longest tributary of the Great Salt Lake. The Bear River is the largest river in North America that never reaches an ocean. And finally, I never did figure out where it got its name. From its source, the Bear River essentially makes a large inverted U around the north end of the Wasatch Range. It rises on the north side of the high Uinta Mountains. Then, it flows north, cutting across the southwest corner of Wyoming past Evanston. Then the river weaves along the Utah-Wyoming state line as it flows north. It turns northwest into Bear Lake County, Idaho, and flows through the Bear Lake Valley in Idaho past Montpelier. At Montpelier, the Bear River hooks up with the short Bear Lake Outlet Canal that drains Bear Lake. Continuing north, the river makes its way to Soda Springs, where it turns abruptly south, flowing past Preston. It re-enters northern Utah, meandering south past Cornish and Lewiston. In that vicinity, it picks up a river called the Little Bear River, coming from the south, and continues its journey through the Bear River Valley of Utah past Bear River City. The Malad River, coming from the north, joins the Bear River just before the Bear empties into the mudflats of the Great Salt Lake, approximately 10 miles southwest of Brigham City. Bear River was once a tributary of the Snake River, but some 14,500 years ago, so says an historic sign north of Preston, lava flows north of Soda Springs diverted the river into what was then Lake Bonneville. The Great Salt Lake is the remnant of that once great Lake Bonneville, which lost its impoundment to the Snake River when the natural dam on its north shore gave way. Original inhabitants of the Bear River valleys were thought to be Shoshone people. Fur trappers began to penetrate the Bear River as early as 1812. Mormon pioneers sought out the Bear River valleys in the late 1840s. All these penetrations and competition for land put an unending pressure on the Bear River Valley's original inhabitants. In January 1863, U.S. Army troops attacked a Shoshone winter village on the banks of the Bear River north of Preston. Many of the inhabitants of that village were slaughtered in what has come to be known as the Bear River Massacre. Since that time, the valleys of the Bear River have been pretty much dominated by white Anglos. So there you have it, the short history of the Bear River. The longer history of how these steep canyon walls were dredged, the rocks laid, and the trees planted will have to wait for their unveiling in the eternities. Until then, be pleased to court Lady Luck. Trust your timing and take a leisurely drive through the spectacular scenery of the Bear River Narrows. This information just in. Bear River was not the river's only name. It was also known as Mud River, White Mud River, and Miller River by early explorers. The Indians called it the River of Tobacco Water, based on the color of the river in its lower reaches. A French-Canadian trapper named Bourbon is credited with the Bear River name. He called it the Bear because of a prevalence of black and grizzly bears. The name didn't stick at first, and it was years later when a clerk with Peter Skeen Ogden's trapping group recalled Bourbon's title and reapplied it. The Bear River name sticks to this day.